Thank you. Mr. Vice President, Madam Deputy High Commissioner, distinguished panelists and delegates. It is an honor for me to take part in this panel on the realization of the rights to work and social security in the informal economy. Back in 2022, I explored through my thematic report to the General Assembly how certain characteristics and conditions prevalent in the informal economy may lead to exploitation of workers. These include a lack of legislative or regulatory frameworks, reluctance on the part of employers and workers to register formally, weak labor inspection, limited access to justice and remedies, and difficulties in exercising trade union rights. Although not all forms of informal work are exploitative or abusive, certain sectors such as agriculture, domestic work, manufacturing, mining, construction, sex work, and part of platform work show a clear link to contemporary forms of slavery. In terms of the profiles of informal workers, gender disparities vary across regions, with informal employment being a greater source of work for men globally than for women. Nevertheless, this global trend does not reflect the reality in many low and lower middle income countries. In regions including Africa, Asia, and Latin America, women are disproportionately engaged in informal work, often in sectors like garment manufacturing, waste collection, and domestic work. Informal employment is also prevalent among children and young people. Globally, 3 out of 4 young women and men engage in informal work compared to adults. These workers frequently lack access to benefits such as sick leave, pensions, and medical insurance, leaving them vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. My report to the Human Rights Council this year will focus on the worst forms of child labor, and so far I have discovered that many children across the globe are working in the informal sector, often under hazardous conditions, having negative impacts on their physical and mental developments. The vulnerabilities for informal workers are further compounded by intersecting factors. For example, older workers, especially those who have spent their entire lives in the informal economy, often lack access to pensions or social security. Persons with disabilities face exclusion from formal employment and are disproportionately pushed into informal work. In addition, ethnic, religious, or linguistic minorities, indigenous peoples, as well as migrant workers, have a higher likelihood of working in the informal sector due to the pre-existing discrimination, social inequality, and exclusion. In response to these challenges, many positive initiatives are currently being advanced in various parts of the world. To begin with, some states have adopted legislative or regulatory frameworks to protect the rights of informal workers. For example, Rwanda ensures equal pay, social security, and workplace safety for all informal workers. Countries like France, Morocco, the Philippines, and South Africa have incorporated domestic work into their national legal frameworks, securing rights such as employment contracts, minimum wages, and social protections. Additionally, various governments have promoted the registration of informal businesses. In this regard, Chile and Turkey offer some tax exemption for small businesses. Modern technology also plays a part in facilitating registration of informal workers. A good example is e-Shram, established in India, which is a national database of unorganized workers in the informal economy. In a context of labor inspection, Uruguay has established dedicated units within the labor inspectorate to identify exploitation in domestic work, and Brazil proactively deploys mobile inspection units, allowing them to reach remote and rural areas where informality tends to be high. It is also worth highlighting that modern technologies such as GPS, smartphone applications, and advanced data processing are increasingly being utilized to improve labor inspection in the informal economy. In addition, trade unions and workers' organizations are also playing an essential role in safeguarding the rights of informal workers. Many represent them directly and negotiate their working conditions or help them organize effectively by building their capacity and solidarity across sectors. Workers' organizations also advocate for legal and policy reforms to enhance social protection, facilitate regularization, and improve access to social security and other benefits. There is no one-size-fits-all approach, as the transition from the informal to the formal economy is inevitably influenced by economic, social, political, and cultural factors in each state. Therefore, tailored solutions that respond to the vulnerabilities of informal workers must be carefully considered and implemented. It is also essential that the needs of women, young people, older workers, migrant workers, minorities, indigenous peoples, and workers with disabilities are adequately addressed. The path forward is clear. Targeted interventions and collaborative efforts must be implemented with the involvement of all stakeholders, including workers' organizations, civil society, financial institutions, as well as informal workers themselves, in order to promote a more joined-up approach and to ensure that the rights to dignified work and social security for informal workers are secured globally. This will in turn facilitate a more effective and meaningful transition from the informal to the formal economy and prevent contemporary forms of slavery. Let us commit to this vision and take the necessary steps to turn legal principles into tangible outcomes. Thank you very much, and I look forward to an engaging dialogue.